And we're recording. Okay. And I've asked Cassie from Huntington to introduce our speaker.
All right.
Hey guys, my name is Cassie and I'm an addict. So I am so grateful to be here with you all at Ripley, and it's such an honor to be up here to introduce someone who is probably one of the most important, is one of the most important relationships in my life. She's saved my ass more times than I could count. And so I could sit here and talk all day about her and tell you all the wonderful things. And I don't want to tell her story, but I will say that when I first met DeeDee, I remember it pretty clearly. She was in the transitional living portion of the treatment facility I had just gotten to, and she was always sitting up on the stage at the meeting in her little matching outfits, shorts, shoes, nails, hair, just like everything. And what really attracted me to her, though, is that she was always having fun. She was laughing, she was high energy, she was very friendly and just welcoming, and that was super attractive to me. From where I was coming from and the things that I've been through, I was happy as hell to be in that treatment facility, but I hadn't experienced a whole lot of positive spirits around me, like that positive energy that comes whenever we get clean, the stuff that we didn't have when we were using, when it was all bad, and you're sizing people up and that kind of thing, and it was like the opposite of that. So anyway, some time goes on, and we've had many different relationships. She's been my boss. She has been my mentor. We both had maybe a year clean and 6 months, a little bit more, and she's over here, my boss, telling me what to do, and it was, it's been a wild ride. It's been so much fun. And, we moved on and we became very close. We've helped each other go back to school. We have been there for each other's biggest moments, weddings, losses, just everything. And I've never once had to wonder where I stand with her. I don't wonder if she's talking shit about me behind my back. She's rock solid, man, and that's hard. When I came into Narcotics Anonymous, I didn't trust that many women, and I've never once had to wonder. So she's made it easy, and that's sacred. That really means something. And so I'm so grateful that she's in my life. And what I will say about her is she's got a no matter what. She is thoroughly convinced that she can't use no matter what. And that was an important lesson. And she has walked through so many things and just really lived that and continues to communicate that to me. And so that was probably the most important first lesson I got from her, was that I could stay clean no matter what. The next thing is that it's the little things. She lives with integrity. The stuff that we talk about in this program, she lives. And she came in and she would share about I started with these little things, and then it started to get off track, and then it snowballed. And so that carried a message to me that I couldn't just sit here and do the same old shit that I've been always doing. I had to live the principles. And so she set an example, for me, so I could learn to do the same. And now we probably talk on the phone. I know it's weird. Maybe we're showing our age here, but we don't just text. We talk on the phone multiple times a week, right? I can call her and she'll answer it. She's not cussing me out, wishing I was texting her, So yeah, it's such an honor. She is the best friend that I've ever had in the entire world. She's like a sister to me. Our families know and love each other. My son, a couple years after I got clean, used to go to her house, and she called me. She's like, "Why won't you go to sleep? All he's had is like ice cream and candy and soda." So 2 years late, he would go stay with Auntie DeeDee, and so anyways, it's just been a really beautiful friendship to me, and I treasure it. And her recovery is nothing short of amazing. She is a total badass. She's resilient, and she has been through some shit and stayed, and done it with grace. And so, with that, I give you DeeDee.
All right.
I'm an addict, and my name is DeeDee. And everything that Cassie just said, Narcotics Anonymous has allowed me to be that person, because I didn't do that. I just kind of participated, and it happened because I keep coming here. This is such a big deal to me, and I was trying not to cry. The countdown, and the people were getting like 1 day and 2 days, and I started breaking because I remember how hard it was to get 1 day. I remember how many times I've been coming back and coming back and coming back, and I remember it, one of the first, a couple of Ripley's ago, they said stay, and I'd never heard that part. I thought they kept telling me to come back, and I kept coming back, and maybe I just wasn't listening. So I make sure I say stay now. And this has been, I can't even explain how much Narcotics Anonymous has given me. Being, just like Cassie said, being able to be a good friend. I wasn't a good friend before I got here. I wasn't reliable. I didn't teach people things. And this is just a process. It's not anything. All I wanted to do was not get high when I got here. And by not using, promise and freedom, I have gained things that I can't even begin to. Whew. But you'll get to hear a little bit more about that. And I'm freaking nervous. I tried not drinking coffee because I'm like I talk real fast. So I'm trying to breathe, so I'll sound real slow. But I'm going to start talking fast eventually because I can't do this. But I'm just grateful to be allowed to come up here and speak. My first convention was in 2007. I started another fellowship, and NA people were way cooler, so I kept coming to the convention, and I just liked it here. And the thing is, the reason that I always was part of NA. I would always go to a meeting, but I had tried it one time, and I had this sponsor, and I thought it was a good idea to pick a sponsor that looked like me, and she was mean as fuck. I remember, her name was Beverly. I love her to death now. But I remember, and this was probably 80, maybe 91, 92, somewhere crazy, but she told me to define all the words and the step. I said, there ain't no way I ain't doing this. She said, yeah, I got to go back somewhere else because that's way too much writing. So I will get started and tell you, a little bit how I got here. And I don't mean to share war stories, but there are a couple of things that I need to let you know about in order to see where I came from, because I know we all know how to use, but I have to, when I say it, it just makes where I'm at today mean so much more. Let me try to think. My clean date is August 2nd, 2012. And I'm one of those people that I'm glad I never got it tattooed, because that was not my first one. They I would have full sleeve. I started, I'm trying to think where I'm starting at. Okay. I was born in Bluefield, and from an early age, I had a resentment because, and I know I've heard this from a lot of people, my mom was 18, and I'm a little bit older, and I'm a lot older. She was 18, my dad was 17, went to Vietnam, so when she had me, I was given to my great-grandmother, who was 70 years old. And from that moment, my life was completely different than most people. When you're raised by a 70-year-old woman, you aren't raised like regular people. She was not regular people. She was amazing, but her goal in life was for me to learn how to cook and clean and get married. And it wasn't, school was you didn't need school. I went to school to get away from her. I joined everything I could join. I played every sport because I knew I could be around people my age. We had one channel, and she watched baseball. I fucking hate baseball. It was always on. So I never, I didn't get to play like other kids. And in hindsight, I used to think my childhood was really terrible. I always had food. I always had a safe place. I was never abused. There were not substances around me. And growing up, I had a resentment because I was raised like that. And I always had new clothes. I didn't have name brand clothes, but I had new clothes. And I always, from get-go, I felt like I didn't have as much as everyone else. So I always felt less than. And my aunts, I had 4 aunts that stayed close to my grandmother, so they were kind of like mom figures. So if I wanted to do anything, I would have to talk to my aunts, and they would have to manipulate my granny because, and this was the best, she didn't believe that, you should have people spend over your house, and I shouldn't stay all night. I had an aunt who went and spent the night with her friend, and a couple of weeks later, she had vitiligo. And so my grandmother thought she caught it from staying all night with the friends. So she said, you get diseases when you stay all night with people. And you do. I do. I mean, I didn't say that, but you might get them. Anyway. But that was like a long time ago. But like I said, she was just really, really different. She loved me the best way she knew how to love me. My grandfather, I was like his baby doll. He passed away when I was 7. And so, like I said, growing up was different. But I did well in school, and I did well, but I didn't have to because she could barely read. Report cards, she never saw one. I liked school, and I think it's one of the things that's probably has saved my life, just the things that she gave me as a child. I never knew that. I thought that I missed a lot of stuff, and I realized I had more stuff than most people. School, growing up, I was, like I said, a good student, played sports, cheerleader, run track, whatever I could do. And I always remember this because I always forget to tell people about this. I lived in the projects, and I always talk about feeling less than. I remember there were, I lied a lot. I used to tell because the kids in the project, I wanted to be better than them. So I would get Goodwill tap shoes and ballet shoes, and I would go out and tell them I came from tap class. I just watched it on TV, and they would all be doing it. I'm like, well, I mean, they didn't know any better. And then, so I mean, I just didn't have a whole. Life was like make believe. I watched a lot of TV, and you will understand how bad that is. I mean, a lot. TV raised me because she wasn't going to tell me anything. You didn't need to know anything until you became of age and got married, and I guess you figured it out or something. But so I played sports. I did good in school. My mom was in and out of my life, and I really didn't have a whole lot for her. I didn't hate her, but she was just like a friend. And so when she came around, she'd tell me to do something, and I'd ignore her, and I'd do what my grandmother said. So I was not very nice to her. I ended up in high school. That's when I first got introduced to any substance, and of course it was the liquid one that a lot of people do, and marijuana. No problems. Made straight A's pretty much in high school. I got a scholarship when I was 17, 18. It was the Outstanding Black Student Scholarship, and it was to Marshall. And that would have been like the first time I got to leave home. And so I got to go. My aunts, got money together to pay for my dorm because they only paid for part of it. So I go to Marshall, and oh my goodness, I had nobody to tell me what to do. I didn't understand that you were actually supposed to go to the classes because I found there was a ladies' night every night if you look hard enough. And I found every single one of them and graduated with a 3.3. First semester at Marshall, I had a .0 something. It might have had a number at the end. I don't really remember. But they said, this is not working. You need to come home. And so I came back home. And I'm from Dunbar. That's where I was living. I spent most of my time. And when I got back home, it was like I calmed down. I started at Western Estate. Made great grades immediately because there was not a party scene. So I was kind of, and my grandmother was there, so, and all my family watching me. So I did the right thing then. But it was shortly after getting back home that I was still using the substances, and I didn't think it was a problem. I used to tell people that I've never blacked out. I used to go to sleep at random times when I was out partying, and I would get in a closet because I knew passing out in front of people was not the best thing. So I would get under people's table, and I'd wake up the next day with a bunch of blankets. Nobody even knew I was there. But I didn't want people touching me or messing with me when I was asleep because bad things happen. So, none of that seemed abnormal. That seemed just like what people do because I was still maintaining. after being back I went to Western State, there was a time there was a drought, and because I had a certain substance, and it wasn't, like I said, it didn't have consequences. And I had a best friend, and she had a boyfriend that she had met that was from New York, and he used to cook this product. And she brought me over her house, and she said, "Hey, you want to try this?" And you know when people say the first one's free? Oh, the first one's free. It was. And I never, ever crossed my mind that this was not a good idea. She's a friend. I tried something, and it was amazing. And so the next day I called her, and I tried it again, and it was amazing. And then about a week of amazement, and she was like, "Do you have any money?" I'm like, "What do you mean money? I didn't need money all this time." I was like, and then so I was like, okay, I like it. I found money, off to the races. I believe I was an addict from day one. Not believe, I know, because I had to have more. I went against the grain. I was always the kid that acted out. I was attention seeking, all the things that I see that I have now that have led me to where I'm at. So we tried this substance, and I started buying it, and within 6 months, I stopped going to school. My grandmother didn't know what drugs was. She thought I just liked being in my room a lot. She never, ever questioned it. 12 lighters later, some papers. She didn't. She just was like, and you think people would notice, but my aunts kind of were not there that much. And I had a boyfriend at the time, and he didn't use before me, but he started using with me. And so he would start getting money. He would start robbing people or taking purses. So I never had to go anywhere. So now I immediately have a habit, and I have somebody to fuel it. So that just made it go a lot quicker. And like I said, it's probably 6, maybe 8 months of using every day, all day. I had stopped going to school. I think I may have had a job. He had a death in his family. He was from Philly, and he had to go back to Philadelphia. And so I was left by myself with no one to get what I needed. And this is where I talk about, and I've shared this a lot, and I wanted to say this before I go there. I want to thank all the people from Huntington GTO, because you've heard my story like 1,000 times, and every single one of them's here supporting me. And it's like, ooh. Well, okay. So what happened is, anyone who has grandparents, my grandmother was a regular grandma. She had a gun. She kept it in her dresser drawer. I told you I watched a lot of TV, and I mean a lot of TV. So I knew there was a gas station in my neighborhood. I used to go there all the time. I used to sell the gas stuff, and so I needed money. The gas station had money. I watched TV. It can't be that hard. So what I did is I got my grandmother's gun because she was asleep, and the gas station was probably from here to where the dining, maybe a little bit past the dining hall, not very far. And I had to, because I was probably about 75 pounds. Let me rewind before I do this. About 3 days before this, I knew I wasn't going to be able to use. I took 27 Tylenols, which was attempted overdose because it was all in the bottle. My grandmother said, "Please don't do that again." Gave me Epicac. I laid in the bed until my legs were going numb, and then I just laid there, never went to the hospital, and I got better. And that was me asking for help, and she gave me Epicac. That was my help. And I said, I'm never going to do that again. So this is where this started. So I wanted to use, so I got the gun, and I got a jacket, a big bomber jacket, because I don't want nobody to recognize me because I'm real skinny. Not the guy that sees me every day would never know. I got, because you're supposed to have pantyhose. Yes. I got pantyhose. And I don't want him to see me. I don't know if you know how hard it is to see out of pantyhose when you're right there. They don't tell you that on TV. But yeah, so I got pantyhose, and you have to have gloves because that's what they do. Gloves. I didn't have gloves, so I had socks for my hands. Well, wait a minute. The worst part is that I don't know what had happened to my brain because I cut the fingers out the fucking socks. I couldn't hold the gun like this. I was like, well, I'm going to have to do something. So maybe they wouldn't get palm prints. I have no clue. I wrote, because you're not supposed to talk, so I wrote on a piece of paper, give me the money. That's what they did on TV. They did all this stuff. And so I did this. I go to the gas station. I go in with the gun. I don't know if anybody knows what a hair trigger is, but I do now. I go to the guy. I guess he thought I was playing. I'm like, look, I have pantyhose on my face. He's like, really? I'm like shaking real bad, and then the gun went off, and I screamed and jumped up in the air, and he screamed, and he finally gave me the money. He was like, okay, you're serious? I'm like, yeah, I'm serious. So I get the money. I take off. I run home, and this is, I know you've heard comedians say you can't catch a crackhead. Well, you can't. I'm just going to tell you now. Because I heard the police telling me to stop. And I'm thinking, they're telling me to stop, but they're not shooting at me. Probably not close enough to me, huh? So I kept running, and I kept running. I got home. I changed clothes, just like the movie, and I don't have gunpowder on my. Anyway, took a shower, and I went across the street. And evidently, whatever I looked like, because there was a guy that sold dope across the street. He looked at me. He said, "What did you do?" And I'm like, "What do you mean? What I did?" It's like, so I don't know if he heard the police or whatever. So anyway, goal accomplished. I used. That scared the shit out of me. I used all night, and I watched the news because. For some reason, I didn't know that when they know who it is, they don't say it on the news. I kept going, well, they don't even know it's me. And I'm like, oh, my God. Everybody knew it was me. When I came out the gas station, there was a guy that played basketball when I cheered. And I had to take the mask off because I couldn't walk down the steps. I was like, man. So I'm sure he told. But anyway, okay. Got away. And you know what? Just that situation means you might be a drug addict. I don't know what else had to happen. But what I've gained from that situation, because they called the next day, I go back home. My whole family's at my house at 7:00 in the morning. Never crossed my mind why, because I guess they were just all. And so I go in my room and I'm packing because I'm going to leave town with no money, high as gas, and I have a 9mm pointed to my head. And the man said, "Tell me where the gun is." And I'm like, "Man, I'm tired. The gun is over in the tree." And I was done. I just wanted help, and I didn't know any. Thank God I didn't die, but I didn't know how to get help. And so I gave a full confession. I know I watch Law and Order now. I probably shouldn't have. Gave a full confession immediately because I didn't care what happened. I just didn't want to not get high anymore because that situation, by the grace of God, I didn't kill that guy because he was on the other side. And I don't know if God removed him, but I didn't. So they took me to jail. And what I, didn't even tell, this part. The gas station that I robbed is across the interstate from the State Police Academy. I thought they just went to school there. I didn't think there was really police there. But evidently they are, and they get there really quick. So I go to jail, and at this time my mom was actually in town. She was a correction officer at Kanawha County Jail, where I had to go. And so they bring her daughter in, handcuffed, shackles, and it was the most embarrassing thing I could have done. But like I said, she wasn't there for me. I could really care less if I embarrassed her. I wanted help. So I ended up in Cabell County because you can't be housed in the same facility as your parent. So I ended up in Huntington. And the thing is that because I had never gotten in trouble, they gave me 3 years probation for attempted murder and armed robbery, 3 years probation and 28-day treatment. They said that drugs were just really bad and that I was not a bad person. So that was my first introduction, and that was my first meeting, my first Narcotics Anonymous meeting, and it was in 1991. So I've been trying to get clean for a very, very long time, and I've known I was an addict for a very long time because normal people don't do that. I went to meetings, and there's no way. I remember telling people, this is stupid. I'll come back when I'm old. Yeah. Could have just stayed, but I did come back a lot, and I'm old now. So, I'm just, the thing is that I did not belong. When I remember going to meetings, and I had 1,000 reasons why I didn't belong. There was no one in meetings that looked like me. I was like, black people don't go to meetings. Black people go to church. And I went to church, and there just was not enough in there. I just couldn't do it in church because I would join a choir and be, and all this stuff and be high at church. I was like, okay, so I'm going to try something else. And then so that was my out. It wasn't about identifying. I heard people, they sounded like me, they shared the same things I shared, but they didn't look like me. And I remember using with people that looked like me, but they wasn't going to meetings. I was like, where were they getting clean at? Or they just wasn't. So that kept me, out of the room for a little while. And then I kept using, and I kept using, and I kept ending up back here. I'm like, damn, I've tried to use a different substance, move, do relationships, all that. None of that stuff worked. So eventually, I finally surrendered a little bit, and I said, okay, I want to come, because I ended up back here. I can't even remember what reason this time. And I decided I was going to work steps and get a sponsor, but I wasn't going to tell them everything because they don't need to know all that. I was going to go to meetings. I was going to do part of the program because, that should be enough. I did part of the program, and I got high. It was a 6-month wonder for a little while. And then I picked up a new skill. Evidently, I had no skills because I started shoplifting on my last trip out, and I shoplift a lot. I ended up with 2 felony shoplifting charges. And I remember, I was stealing because I felt robbing people is a bad idea, so stealing is better. And Walmart has all kinds of stuff. And so what I did is I shoplift, and I remember the police catching me over and over, and they said, you realize you're not good at this. And I'm like, I said, I've been here 9 times. Y'all caught me once. I was like, I thought I did pretty good. I just kept going. I've been going in and out. Like, after 8 times without buying anything, they start looking at you. I ended up looking at 2 felonies, and I finally got arrested, and I've never gotten any consequences. And I used to, because that's how playing the victim, I said if they'd have put me in jail the first time, then I wouldn't have done it again. DeeDee, really? Okay. So this time, they gave me some consequences. I was looking at 2 years in prison, and I ended up getting home confinement. And I didn't realize home confinement was really home confinement. I was like, oh my God. They gave me that bracelet. And I was like, I came to Huntington, and I went to treatment, and after I got out of treatment, I got into sober living, and I didn't realize I really had to tell them everywhere I went. I remember going one place, and the next day I went in, and they said, you had a violation. You were sitting in a car in a parking lot. I was on my way home. They said, that's still a violation. I'm like, oh my God. And I realized this is real. So I got a little more willing to do some stuff this time. The thing is that third offense felon, I could be in prison for life and never have done any time. And I understood that. So when I got here this time, and another time I had actually worked steps and stayed clean, and I kind of missed that part. I stayed clean for about 4 years. Worked steps, everything was amazing, and I started taking credit for everything I'd gotten. I was a real shitty person, clean, showing up in meetings, sponsoring people, telling you what to do, don't do what I do. I'm better than everyone. I remember going to meetings with a laptop because I was important. I was typing. I was like, what could I have possibly gotten out of a meeting if I'm... And it wasn't shortly after that, I was working as a CPS worker, and I used with the client at their house because I can do whatever I want with 4.5 years clean. And I was gone after that. That was one of the times when I was, coming to the convention up here in another program, and I was coming up here for some reasons that have nothing to do with recovery, but that's just another thing too. But that's how I lived. I would do the minimum and try to stay clean. Now this time when I came in, and I had the ankle bracelet and started realizing that, I'm getting old and this shit's getting old. And like I said, I'm terrified of jail. I will do all the crimes in the world, but I do not want to go to jail. I went to jail for 1 day, cried for the entire time, kept trying to call people, and I was like, I actually went to jail for 1 day, and they shut the doors, and I cried myself for, I thought it was all night, and I got up, and it was the same day. I was like, he was like, oh my God. It was like, they just shut it for a couple of hours for some reason, but anyway, that was traumatizing. But the thing is that I've been here forever and ever and ever and ever. But this time, like I said, I got a sponsor. I got a home group, and I've had the same home group since I got clean. Hope Turns of Faith meets on Tuesdays at 7 o'clock. That home group has been around forever. It even got down to right before COVID or a little bit after where there's one home group and then another home group member. And I just kept showing up because the reason I'm able to stand up here, I've got involved in service work. I have a sponsor. I show up anytime someone asks me to speak. I remember what Narcotics Anonymous is when I'm not in this room. There was something else I wanted to tell you about that. It was something good too. Evidently God didn't want me to say it. Okay, let me move on. But since I've been here, and I'm a lot older than maybe I look. Maybe I look old, I don't really know, but people lie to me and say I don't. But my life, like since I've been here, I've been married. I've step work. Step 6, I shared this in a workshop too. Step 6 is my favorite, most powerful step because I've done a step 4, never really thought a step 6 was important. I have a defect that I've lived, which is a defect of lust. And the reason I had to throw that in there because I didn't want to forget this part. 5 years clean. I was married and I had a job and I was working a solid program. And because I never knew that defects could get you high, like just if you're doing everything else, like one defect could. And I had one that I've done forever, and I refused to let go of it. And it was, I always wanted something more, like not being faithful, not being loyal. On my job I was working, I fell in love with a client, and in a matter of a week, I got fired, and my husband found out, and I got divorced quickly. And you're not supposed to do that. Shouldn't happen to you clean. I didn't think, but it saved my life because if that hadn't happened to me, then I would still be living in that defect. And I shared about this because my sponsor, we talked about it a lot because I used to think a friend request was a marriage proposal. I thought that you meant, like, if you send me a friend request, you love me. Sex is not love. Narcotics Anonymous showed me sex is not love. My emotions won't kill me. And I need to learn to respect other people because I don't know how to do that. Well, I didn't, and I do today. But it took, talk about the pain getting great enough, for me to act in that way and to embarrass, and that's what I thought, embarrass my sponsees, my friends, because people were ashamed of me. They thought I should have made a better decision. And what I tried to explain to them is that, I didn't get high, and I didn't mean for it to happen like that. And I had to have that lesson in order to be a better woman and to be a wife, to be anybody, because I wouldn't have been. I learned everything the hard way, and that lesson I learned the hard way. But I'm very blessed because I was able to find a person that loves me, and that's what I've always wanted. Like somebody, I'm lovable. I can be loved because if you love me, I'm gonna fuck you up. If you love me, I'm gonna fuck you up. That's the way I believed it. But I went through enough pain with that behavior that when somebody loves me, I love them back, and I don't have to love anybody else. And that's fucking crazy because that's not anything in 51 years that I've been able to do. I always needed more. And I wanted to make sure I shared that because sometimes I forget to share that because that is one of the reasons I'm still here. And I learned about, it's not about the dope till it's about the dope. Right. That for me, that means is that if I'm a shitty person in the rooms, eventually I will get high. That's right. And I was like, but I'm not, my favorite thing was, but I'm not getting high, but I'm not getting high, and then I'm high, I'm like, fuck. And it never added up like why these things keep happening to me. It's because I've heard people share, I'm doing it to myself again. I survived my own story because I can kill myself in the rooms easy. I don't need dope, I don't need anything outside. I can be in here and act in a way that paints myself in the corner we're using is the best idea, or what I thought would be the best idea. So not only have I learned and changed into a better person, and it wasn't intentionally, I just didn't want to do dope. Since I've been here, I didn't get to tell you I had a daughter, and this was, I'm trying to think, she is born in 95, and I was actually clean when I got pregnant with her. I was going to college. This was in one of my brief moments of where I was just smoking pot and drinking, And I didn't have a CPS case because when I started using, her dad came in. He was like, I said, could you get her for 3 days? Or could you get her for 4 days? And then I remember going, can you bring her to see me for an hour? It was that quick. I didn't even realize that she wasn't there anymore. And I'm grateful for him to this day because she did have a parent. But as I needed to say that is because my daughter is one of us now. And all the things that I've been through here, that has been the hardest thing for me to get. I mean, I've gotten through it, but to watch your child live a life like you've lived and you've tried to keep her from, because once I got clean for the 4 years, and I made sure she travel cheered, I had her all the time, we did all kinds of stuff. I mean, it was just me and her, and she knows that she grew up in the rooms. She went to meetings, she went to dances, but for some reason, she has the genes and they're ignited, and I pray for her every day. I stay because I want to be here and make sure my home group's open in case she shows up here one day. And I get real pissed off at people that come in and get clean and disappear. Like Narcotics Anonymous gives you a life and you're like, bye. And it's like, God, I hope you stay clean and don't have to come back. And if you do, guess what? I'll be here to give you a hug. So I do. I make sure I stay plugged in for that reason. And my daughter had a son. She had 2 stillbirths, which facilitated her moving towards us. And the 3rd baby was born, and she was using at the time by then because the 2 were taken from her, so God hated her, and that's how that addict thinking. So she was like, fuck it. And then she got pregnant with her 3rd baby. CPS came in, and the day he was getting discharged from the hospital, I went to the DHHR and I said, can I do a home plan? Can I, get my grandson? And they were like, you have a felony. I'm like, I was like, oh, okay. So I told some friends, and I've made some amazing friends in recovery, and I happen to know a lady who was a lawyer, and another lady said, call her. So I got a lady to be my lawyer, do the paperwork, and for 6 months maybe longer, I had to go to court. And I don't know, it was crazy because I guess they thought I was going to give up, and I don't think they know my record because I don't give up. I'm like, I know. So what I did is that I had to have parenting, my husband get up without any sleep and do all-day Saturday parenting classes for a week, like 4 weeks. I had to go drive 45 minutes for a 40-minute visit and 45 minutes back, and I had to miss work. And luckily, God put me in a place where my job understood, and I was a hard worker, so I was able to do that. They had a court date. We were on a vacation, and they made the court date in the middle of vacation. And I was like, I went on vacation. I flew back home. I went to my court date, and I went back on vacation. A week before his first birthday, I got full custody, and I got to adopt my grandson. Whew. And I'll never forget, at 5 years clean, I think it was 5, the prosecutor attorney said, you failed, and this was the documentation, you failed as a parent and you should not be given the opportunity to fail again. And I was like, but I'm doing the best I can now. And it was just, if I wasn't here, there's no way that would happen. And the people here supported me. I shared in meetings for eons, crying. And you know what? I never shared. And to this day, I never pray for him to give me him. Because God's will may not be for me to have him. And that's what hurt the most, is that what if it's not? I'm doing everything, but it doesn't mean I have to get him. And then I have to be okay if I don't. Because I know I have a higher power that will give me things if I ask him. And sometimes he'll give them to teach me a lesson, and sometimes they cause a lot of pain. So I stop praying for things. I go, you know what? Make me be okay with whatever you give me. And that's what saved my life. Because if I ask for shit and he doesn't give it to me, I'm mad. If I ask for shit and he does give it to me, I'm mad. So I'm just like, how about I just let you do what you need to do? And I have. And boy, it's made things a lot easier. So I have a 3-year-old grandson, and he is wearing me out, and I would not change a thing. Another awesome thing that's happened since I've been here, and like I said, this is because I have integrity and I'm able to show up, and I participate in here so I can participate out there. I met a lady at a meeting somewhere, and she said, have you ever thought about going back to school? And I was like, no, not really. I mean, that's never crossed my mind. She said, well, you ought to give it a try, because throughout all of this, somehow I was able to get a bachelor's degree. And so I signed up at Marshall, where I went to school, to get a master's in social work. And I graduated with my master's in social work in 2018. And the funny part is that the last semester they gave me, they asked me to be a GA, which is a teacher assistant. And like, I thought that was like, yeah, that's a cool thing. Since I've been there, I've been teaching a semester every fall at Marshall, teaching substitutes in social work. And the funniest thing, I had one of the students go, my last name used to be Gravely. It's like, Dr. Gravely, I have a question, and I busted out laughing. I was like, doctor, I'm not a doctor, but for her to write that on paper, and they were calling me Professor Gravely. I'm like, Professor, 2-time felon, crack addict. Come on. That's what, and that's when I get kind of pushy because people say I can't do nothing. Oh, I got a felony, and bullshit. I had to jump over hoop after hoop, backwards, spin around, do a dance, all that stuff. But and it wasn't easy. But like I said, I don't give up. I didn't give up on getting high. I didn't give up on getting clean. I'm not going to give up on having a different life. It's been just a ride. I can't even tell you because I had no idea. I would be teaching at a school that I flunked out of. I have a 3-year-old grandson. I'm a productive member of society. I'm a therapist. I work at a job like helping people, like big girl helping people. I do that, on a daily basis. But I have people that I call them patients. I was having to say because that's cool. It is cool. It's like that's DeeDee, your patients out here. I'm thinking that's just y'all. You can't even imagine. I thought I was going to spend the rest of my life in prison. I thought I was going to do dope until I died. I thought what I did in active addiction was going to carry for the rest of my life, and I couldn't even hold my head up. But I can hold my head up. I have respect for myself. I'm a good wife most of the time. Yeah, I am, like at least 50% of the time. I'm a good mother. I'm there for my daughter. And the biggest thing is that what I've been able to get from staying here is that I don't have to continue to enable my daughter or kill her, because I would love to have her at home. I would love to not have to have her in pain and not have to have her do the things she's doing and live that way, but I can't because I don't want to get high. And that is hard. That is hard because any other time I would have been giving her money. I would have been doing everything, and eventually I would have been gone. I pray that she makes it here. And like I said, I don't know if it's His will. I'll be able to get through whatever, because that's something when the first step, that was one of my reservations if something happened to my daughter. And by the grace of God, it hasn't. And I just keep praying and the thing that helps me to even stay a little bit alive, I see people just like her here with me, and I know that she can get here. I know. And then, people are like, but she's gone really far. You don't even know. I've seen people gone, I can't even explain it, and they're here. And they've got 10 years and 12 years. So, recovery is possible. But it takes some work. It takes a lot of work. It takes more than just fucking showing up at a meeting. I love when they say meeting makers make meetings. They do. It's application, because if you don't apply this, you can go to 1,000 meetings and still be a shitty person. I don't know that, let me see what time. I don't want to keep y'all hostage. I'm probably talking real fast. Look at me. Gosh, and I didn't die. Okay, I'm going to keep talking now. Whew. I am very, very blessed because I would have never. I remember sitting in the convention, and this is funny. I remember having like 30 days. Well, man, I love to get up here and talk. It was like, you got shit to say. It was like, this is how you get high, and this is how you get high, and this is how you get high. I mean, nothing. So I'm grateful that you allow people to get recovery, and before they're able to get up here, and, that kind of stuff. But I thought about that because it was just like, I don't know. And this is an honor. This is probably bigger than me, graduating. Because those people that I went to school with don't know me. I'm just a name. You guys know who I am. And to know exactly what I've been through and still love me, I could not ask for anything more. I think that's all, and I love you guys.